the most sacred of relationships, yet time and life make it fragile. Love, trust, respect, and desire, all elements of a successful marriage. Yet so many of us along the way forget. We lead busy lives. We go through changes, big and small. We build walls to protect ourselves. It does not have to be this way. There are clear and exciting ways to bring your marriage and life back on track. Welcome to the Couples Expert Podcast with Stuart Fensterheim.
Good morning. This is Stuart Fensterheim, the Couples Expert, coming to you today from Scottsdale, Arizona, where it is a gloomy but nice 75 degrees here in Scottsdale. And I'm sitting in my office just thinking about some of the couples that come to see me, because that is the place that I typically get some of my ideas. And one of the things that's been happening lately is I've been getting a slew of couples coming to see me who are in crisis. The crisis that they're in is their partner has come to them now saying that they want a divorce. And they are in shock because they had no idea that their partner was unhappy. And what they typically say to me is, it looks like I was oblivious. I didn't know. The question for us today to pull apart is whether or not ignorance is an excuse for an unhappy marriage. The number one reason that people seek out divorce is not infidelity, and a lot of people think it is. It is a lack of connection. And if you're not aware that you and your partner are disconnected, I have to say this, and I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way, but shame on you. How could you not know? Ignorance is not an excuse for a bad marriage. Ignorance is not an excuse for having a relationship where two people feel incredibly empty and alone. Ignorance is not an excuse for you not looking your partner square in the eye and not seeing the glaze that's on their face, the emptiness that they feel, and the sadness of being in a relationship where you don't feel important. The divorce rate in first marriages is up into about 40 to 50%. What we know is that the younger people marry, the more likely they are to get divorced. The good news is the divorce rate has been decreasing over the past few years, about 20 years now, due to people choosing wisely to wait until they married later in their life. The dilemma, though, is it continues to be a problem because the divorce rate for second marriages is up in the neighborhood of 67% and 74% if they are in their third marriage. Most people believe that the number one reason people get divorced is infidelity, but that's not true. It is the lack of connection that causes people to leave a marriage. If you've ever struggled in a relationship, you know how hard it is to reach out and communicate with your partner when you're not feeling close. You sometimes even have a hard time being civil to one another. When you get to that point, it seems like everything is a battle, and the smallest things can set you off. And what happens is it continues to escalate and you fall into this incredibly negative cycle where you begin to isolate yourself, shut down, and withdraw. What happens then is zero communication. Couples live like that for years and years and years until they get to a place where they say, enough already. What we know is love doesn't leave a marriage or a relationship like turning a light switch on and off. We chip away at it. The ignorance and the lack of awareness is never going to be an excuse to having a marriage that doesn't work. It's also not an excuse of having a marriage that is wonderful. Because being aware of what your partner needs, asking questions, looking them in the eye, and knowing that what you see is someone who loves you. The problem is that when we see these things that aren't working, we get defensive and we shut our eyes and we shut our ears and we shut our mouth, and we're like the monkey, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. And people seek out help and come to a counselor like myself's office 6 years too late. And when you show up 6 years too late, there's very little that can be done unless both people are totally committed to having a relationship that's different than what you have now. And sometimes, if someone has been oblivious, the partner doesn't give them the benefit of the doubt. They stop trying and they say, I'm done, I'm exhausted, I'm burnt out, and all I want is to get out. Which would be incredibly sad, and I deal with this day in and day out, and half my battle is convincing people that if they just wake up, if they just begin to see their partner authentically and vulnerably, they can have the relationship of your dreams. People who are involved with couples counseling, where there's an attachment theory focus, the success rate for emotionally focused couples therapy, for example, is up in the neighborhood of 70 to 80%. That's an incredible amount. And with all the research that we know about couples and couples therapy and love, there really is no excuse anymore to not know what to do to help your relationship. From premarital until the day that you pass away, you need to be studying both your partner, yourself, and most importantly, your relationship to know what does it take to make this relationship the happiest relationship for both of you. Stop saying you don't know what to do. Being oblivious doesn't work. There's no way that you could be living with someone day in and day out and not know that they were unhappy. If that is anywhere near the reality, there is something seriously wrong with the relationship and with how you're handling yourself as a partner. You need to fix your relationship today. And that is, if your partner is willing to work with you, open your eyes, open your ears, and most importantly, open your mouth and say, I want to learn and I need to learn. There are warning signs if you're only willing to take a look. How do you interact with your partner? Do you hold and touch each other affectionately? Do you share your feelings and have deep, meaningful conversations? Saying I come from a background where we don't talk about feelings is not an okay excuse to not have deep, meaningful conversations. Work on that if that's the case. Your partner needs you to be present, engaged, connected, and willing to share that part of you that no one else gets but them. Are you even nice to your partner? If you answer no to any of these questions, your relationship is struggling and you need to be very aware of it and let your partner know how it makes you feel. Because chances are your partner is feeling that too. If you feel isolated, lonely, overlooked, or taken for granted, and you're unappreciated, there's definitely room for improvement and positive change. And my guess is your partner's feeling some of that as well. You need to start asking yourself this question: where did we go wrong? Not where did you go wrong, or not where did I go wrong, but where did we go wrong? These things don't develop overnight. It's taken time to get there. And the two of you need to get to a place where both of you work on this, because right now, suddenly, one of you wants out. Now, that's not a small thing. And if you don't take this seriously, shame on you. For many, it's a series of small things that have eroded away this connection. Maybe there was a relationship injury, a breach of confidence or trust, maybe even an affair. Whatever it was, you now feel like you're standing at the edge of this deep, wide canyon and your partner's on the other side and you can't reach them. You feel like you can't reach them even if you want to. And at this point, you're not even sure you want to make that effort. Or your partner has told you loud and clear that they don't want to try any longer. They're on their last straw. They're done. It's scary. But don't let the fear get in the way. Feel this fear and do the things you need to do anyway. Don't compound this with being defensive or feigning this ignorance of the problem. Because I will tell you, I have rarely seen someone that truly is oblivious. Because when we begin to talk about these things, the people begin to say, oh yeah, that's what that was. There is an awareness that we all have when the laughter goes away and the humor is not there and the playfulness is gone and the sex is gone and the touching is gone and the sharing of your day is gone. How can you not have anything to say to your partner when you get home at night? You both are living in the same place. You're building a life together. How is it possible that there's really nothing to say? And if it really isn't, you're in a dark hole and you better start climbing out. But how do you fix this? That's the real question. How do you fix a relationship where you weren't aware that the problems were as deep as they were, and the only way to fix it is when both people are willing to come at this together and start talking about how empty and alone it is. Today I was meeting with a gentleman, and what he was talking about was the fact that he wants to work on his marriage, but they just go through the motion. They don't even fight anymore because it just seems like this is all there is. And he was asking me a question and said, maybe this is what marriage is. And I had to loud and clear say to him, no, it's not. Marriage is supposed to be exciting and wonderful, and having a happy marriage means that you are accessible to each other, you're engaged with one another, and that you are responsive. That when your partner comes home and says, I had a rough day, the response isn't, could you stop complaining? We all have a hard day. That the answer is, what can I do to help to make tonight better? Being authentic and vulnerable and being willing to show your partner the real you can sometimes be scary. There's a real good book that I recommend quite often. It's called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Be scared, be afraid, but put one foot in front of the other and continue to work hard at this. There needs to be a willingness on both people's part to put in the work necessary to connect with each other. You have to be willing to have that vulnerability. Even if you're divorcing, you still have to deal with each other, especially if you had kids. And if you don't want to divorce, even though your partner is saying that they want one, show them that you're willing to do the work. When someone recommends, try this, you actually do try it. I can't tell you how many couples I see where I say, I think what I'd like you to do is go home and the two of you to do this exercise. And they come back and they say, I didn't do it. And when I ask why not, the answer I usually get is because it won't work. And I said, how do you know this? Because I know her. What I tell you loud and clear, you think you know your partner, but you're also that same person that was oblivious that the problem was as deep as it was. Start taking the risk and doing the work. I don't know how many times I have to say this, but communication, communication, communication. It has to happen one way or the other. Anytime one of the partners brings up an issue, often it gets ignored. That happens with a lot of couples. But what changes things is that when a partner uses the word divorce or separation, things get real. It is really startling and sobering to think that you could be giving it all up, that your partner could really have the audacity to really think that ending the marriage is acceptable. But so often, what happens is things come crashing down. All those dreams of forever, happily ever after, fairy tales, the visions that we had when we were a young child of having a husband or a wife and that you'll be together forever against the world, no longer seems like a reality. Try thinking about that the next time your partner brings up a small issue that you think insignificant. Does your partner see you as making what matters to them matters to you? Communicate with your partner. Think of them as your best ally, and that unless they're happy, you're going to be miserable. Communicate to your partner. Listen to their heart. Show them yours. If you don't want to give up, get some help. Make a call. If a partner brings up a divorce or separation or a fear that we will get to a divorce or separation, make it important. Ask about seeing a counselor. Ask about doing some reading together. Ask about going to a workshop or going to a lecture on marriage that the two of you are going to make this relationship the best relationship for everybody. Go online. Google it. Google marriage encounter. Google marriage lectures, marriage books, and ask your partner to come with you to a bookstore to look for books that the two of you can work on together. It's not always necessary to have counseling, but it is necessary to have your partner feel that they matter to you. Remember something. Your partner doesn't want a divorce. Who does? No one. What they want, quite often, is to smack you on the side of the head and tell you that we're in trouble and turn your life and their life upside down and scream to you, wake up. We have to matter. You have to make our family, our relationship, our partnership the most important thing in your world. And they're letting you know loud and clear how unhappy they are and that things need to change. Don't give up or give in to these feelings. Let your partner know that no one matters more. Now here's the dim reality. You can't make someone stay in the marriage unless they truly want to. And sometimes people get to a point where they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they want to just give up. When that happens, you need to accept that and let the partner know that you do not want this. Don't let your stubbornness or your ego get in the way where you're not going to show them how hurt you are. Let them know that there's nothing more painful than this. That if they want a separation, you'll give them a separation. I have so many couples in my office, when they talk about separation, they end up throwing their hands up and saying, no. What do you mean, no? You're refusing your partner, telling you they want a separation, and you're saying to them, get a divorce instead of a separation. When more often than not, couples who talk separation are talking about they need to tone down the emotion. They need to have some space. They need to have a way to process what's happening in order to come back to where they want to be. They want to be in a relationship that matters to both of you. They want to turn this around. They want to work on it. And you're going to push them out the door to get a lawyer to end your marriage? It makes no sense to me. Your ego, don't let it get in the way. What this really suggests is one of the things we need to do is make sure we de-escalate all the discussions that happen. If you get caught up in these negative cycles, what's going to occur for the two of you is the intensity of these dialogues are going to have you thinking of your partner, and I think we talked a little bit about this a few minutes ago, as the worst person out there, the person that's going to harm you, the person who you interpret as not in having your best interest at heart. We don't want to allow our dialogues with our partner, with our lover, to get caught up into this vicious cycle. We have to stop and let people know that when we get caught up and we start saying these mean, awful things to one another, that you don't want that. You don't want to be treating each other this way. You need to speak up, say what you mean, be real, be authentic. Stop being the couple that bashes one another. And if these kinds of dialogues happen on a number of occasions, there is no option out there. Get some help from someone that has a background in attachment theory. I would hope every single couple out there would reach out to someone that knows what they're doing when it comes to couples counseling. Not all counselors know how to do couples work. I have colleagues of mine that are afraid to do couples work. They say, I don't know how you do it. I'm going to send all my couples to you. And then there's other counselors that says, I can do couples work, no problem. I say, what kind of training do you have? Well, I've got my master's degree and I have my license. And they think they can do this. And what ends up happening is they get caught up in the same cycles that the couples are in. You want to go to someone who knows how to work with couples, to have two people in the room where they're going after each other and you can intervene in a way that shows them how to get out of it. And that means without saying, well, if only you did this or if only you do that, it's talking about the negative cycle and how they're going to need to work together and explaining that we have a roadmap. There is a roadmap to take couples from that disconnection to a connection where both of you feel important to each other. What it's going to involve, and what we've talked about over and over again today, is you have to be willing to do the work on yourself, on the relationship, without blame. No self-blame, no blame of other. That the two of you are committed without making any excuses, working really hard of not getting defensive. And when you've committed to coming to see a counselor, making the counseling as important as cancer treatment, as important as if you're on your deathbed or your partner has a terminal illness, and if they don't take their medicine, they will pass away. You have to put the same urgency, the same importance, the same commitment, the same dedication to your marriage and your relationship. Don't cop out. Concentrate on fixing both yourself and the relationship. Do what the counselor tells you to do. Do the homework. Do the things that will help you become a better person, a better partner, a better lover, a better colleague, a better everything. Because when your relationship is working, everything is better. Don't give up. The only people that aren't able to turn relationships around are the ones that stop working at it. That's the kind of knowledge we have right now. You need to suck it up and do it. And you'll find as you continue to work at this, it will become easier and everything will become lighter. Because when you and your partner feel important and you feel like you're in this together, it's easy to be kind. It's easy to be loving. It's easy to build on the strengths of your relationship, because the challenge in the relationship is more often in the interpretation you make about your partner and the interpretation you make about yourself. And what we're really talking about here is really putting the time, energy, and dedication on healing your relationship, having your eyes wide open, and seeing what matters. And what matters is each other. And that you're going to see your partner and you're going to acknowledge your partner. You're going to see and hear and listen and make important the things that your partner tells you, so that you don't have an experience where you go, I didn't know we were in trouble. Why couldn't I see? You couldn't see, as we've been talking about for the last 30-some minutes here, is because you weren't watching, you weren't thinking, you weren't making important the things that matter, which is your happiness with your partner. Now, what I'd like to talk next about is tikkun olam, a Hebrew phrase, a concept I have dedicated myself in my own life. What tikkun olam is a means about world repair, repairing our world. There's an idea in Judaism that it is our duty as human beings to perform what they call mitzvahs, or acts of kindness, and that these acts of kindness actually elevate us, drawing us to the most authentic version of who we are, that is ourselves. This world we live in is deeply suffering and in need of a great deal of healing and a great commitment to being selfless. Being in this country and hearing all the stories of the daily violence, the fear, the anger, has only made this even more apparent. For someone who is committed to relationships, connections, this poses a huge challenge, and yet, at the same time, an opportunity for you and your partner to take on this challenge and to really perform acts of kindness to one another that can change the nature of how this world feels to both of you. And in spite of all the terrible things going on in this world and all the political strife and everything that you do, what I have devoted my life to since I became a counselor and even as a child, knowing that I have a voice to make a difference in this world, that I am going to perform every single act of tikkun olam on my partner, my wife, the people in my world that I am involved with, and that to dedicate your life to tikkun olam, which means dedicating your life to your partner, and the best place you can do that is in your relationship. If you happen to be someone who's spiritual or religious or even an atheist, we all understand that to change our world, there needs to be acts of kindness. And why don't we do that with our partners? Why don't we look to our partners and see who they are, see the good in them, the positive intention, and not be oblivious to the pain of the most important person in your life, which is the person you're married to, the person you're having a relationship with. You can make a difference with that one person, the person that you love, that you want this world to feel like the best place out there. This concept is also a concept known as Gimilut Chasadim, performing acts of loving kindness, helping the needy. Your partner is one of the most needy people that you know. Maybe not needy financially, but emotionally. We crave having a partner that really focus on our happiness. I talk a lot about that having a connected relationship is one in which you understand, and without any question, that the person that you're in a relationship with, the person that you're married to, the person that is your partner, there is no other need that they have than being with someone that loves them more than anyone, has their back, and is really there in the good times, the bad times, and everything they need, that you are dedicated to their happiness. And they're doing the same for you. And that you will perform these acts of kindness, Gemilut Chasadim, to them every single day, from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed until the day you die. This concept, if you live it, can change the world as they see it and feel more love than they ever have in their entire life. This mitzvah, this act of changing your partner's world, is really something that we all need to have in our hearts, that we're going to do that every single day of our world together. And that this is a moral principle that we dedicate our life to, not just with the individual, but with the community at large. But it starts with your family. And the family, as you know, my philosophy is, starts with the couple. And if the two of you really dedicate your world to a just cause, which is helping each other feel more love than you ever have, you will never be oblivious again. It is not being done because your partner is asking you to do it. It's being done because you are. And this righteous behavior, which is pronounced in Hebrew, tzedakah, this justice, this fairness, this giving to the needy, and there is no one more needy than the love of your life, to have you right by their side, having their back, will change the world of your life. And in itself, just dedicating and making that a priority for you won't allow you to be ignorant or oblivious to their pain, to their emotional needs. And by doing this, by really having a commitment to yourself, again, it's not to them, but to yourself, that there's no one else that is more important to you, and that you want to look yourself in the mirror every single day and know that you are living by your own ethical and moral principles, that your partner, the person you've made that commitment to spend your life with, to share a life, will be the one person in the world that you'll never not see who they are, the positives in them, and that you're committed to do tikkun olam, to make their world a happy place. I wish you well, and I sign off saying we'll see you next week, where my guest Nicole Burgess is going to talk about using mindfulness in families and parenting. Take care. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. This episode has ended, but your journey continues. Head over to www.thecouplesexperts.com To access all the links and resources mentioned in this episode, as well as bonus content exclusive to podcast listeners. Enjoyed this episode? Why not hit subscribe now and never miss an episode?